Oh, wow. What's up, guys? Welcome in Slaughterhouse Sports. We still have a huge day of football tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to get better than this. It's kind of like when you're on the first tee in golf and you pipe a drive like 295 yards right down the tee, right down the middle, and then you maybe par the first hole, and then the rest of the day you can't find that drive. I'm worried that a lot of games tomorrow are going to be blowouts because everybody's going to say, oh, wow, I can't believe we got this as our appetizer on Friday night. This is probably going to be one of the better games ever. Georgia Tech, Georgia, Haynes King, probably a junior or a senior. One of the final games that, and for Georgia Tech, a program this year, Florida State, they went to Ireland. This was before Florida State was Florida State 2024. It was the first iteration of them. Huge win against Florida State. Against NC State last week, they had to drive the length of the field in 30 seconds with a backup quarterback. They get it done. It's been an unbelievable year. They beat Miami at home. They are just golden against really good opponents. And Faulkner is a really good offensive coordinator. Tyler Santucci is the defensive coordinator. They have bright minds there. And Brent Key's pretty solid. So tonight they're up 17-0, and you think the upset is happening because this isn't a vintage Georgia team. This is a Georgia team that could have lost to Kentucky. This is a Georgia team that even was not even blowing out UMass last week. This is a Georgia team that, how should we say this? Against Alabama was down 28-0. Against Ole Miss, got absolutely plastered against Ole Miss. This offense has problems. They can't really run the ball. They're trying to throw the ball. They don't really have any receivers to speak of. Their defense is just average for an SEC team. Mike Bobo, again, he is not Todd Monken. They're probably going to do something there. This really could have been the end of this season for Georgia, and it said Georgia wins. So the most perplexing Georgia result of the whole year is them going on the road and beating Texas and beating them badly. And there the defense played out of their minds, and they actually ran the football a little bit. But they have injuries on their offensive line. Georgia's like the team that's just never dead. And is it going to end up like the Philadelphia Eagles last year where it comes crashing down in Atlanta and then they get housed in the playoff? Very well could happen. Or is this going to be a team that somehow wins Atlanta, that wins the SEC again because Kirby is just a magician, that he can magically just like, that's the thing about Georgia. Like they look like they're absolutely dead. They look terrible. And then they go out there and they beat Texas. They go out in the second half when they're down to Tennessee 10-0 and bam, wow. The velocity on their fastball goes from 85 and anyone can hit it to about 98 painting the corners. Georgia's still a champion, and you got to knock the champion out. And that's why it comes down to that third down. Your margin for error is slim when you're on the road like that. And that fumble cost Georgia Tech the game. Then I don't know why. Why do you go through the charade of going on the 2-point conversions, of walking the whole field? It's like a slow and really painful, agonizing death. Again, college football, I'll say this, guys. I really don't like that they changed overtime from that. Now we're doing 2-point conversions after the third overtime. It's stupid. It's not soccer. It's not penalty kicks. It's stupid. Okay. And the reason they're doing it is just like they're running the clock on every play. It's to show commercials and try to preserve player safety. But yet you're extending the regular season now with an extra playoff game. Okay. These games should mean everything. And why not let the games go 7 overtimes, okay? Do you really think Joe Burrow and LSU, when they played A&M, you really think they regret still playing that game? And you could always go for 2. So why are we making... And then you have to run the length of the damn field and walk 100 yards just to fail 2 more point conversions? Stupid. Just play you messed with the best system ever after 5 or 6 overtimes of actual football. Then you had that dumb Penn State-Illinois game and it says 9 overtimes. Oh my gosh, 9. No, it's 9 penalty kicks. It's 9 2-point plays. Gosh, it's not even that fun. And yeah, I wanted Georgia Tech to win. Okay, it was a great football game, back and forth. Georgia made play after play to get back. Georgia Tech showed a ton of mental fortitude and then scored a lot of touchdowns. But let's play it from the 30-yard line. Okay? Let's play it from the... Listen, after 5 overtimes, don't make it after 3. Give me 5 or 6 overtimes and then do your 2-point plays. Keep them on the same side of the field. They're just trying to limit plays. They're trying to limit football. You know what they're saying by running the clock and doing this? Football's not great. Let's limit it. Let's limit football when football's supposed to be played in November, okay? Let's add on games because we're going to make money later in the year. Instead of you getting ready for the NFL draft, instead of you having a chance to complete your class, we're going to put on 60 more minutes. But if gosh forbid, there's a third overtime, we can't have you playing 8 more plays. That is a contradiction. I don't want more regular season games because the games get sloppy. It's a whole more week of practice. It's fine having 15 games. That's why I don't like the extended playoff. It's fine having 15 games. But when you're in the heat of battle and it's an epic overtime game, why the heck does it go to this hokey penalty kick-like system that is dumb as heck? Terrible. Anyway, Georgia Tech just should have went for it then immediately in the first overtime. You're not the better team. You're on the road. What do you think? Your defense is lighting it up? You allowed a touchdown to Cass Jones on the next play. So for as good as you played, you missed the golden opportunity of golden opportunities. You know? You were ready to pull the biggest upset ever, and that's why it's disappointing because of the way it was so close. Yeah, I'm going to commend Georgia Tech. Great season. Again, 8-4. You know, good for the ACC. And like now for Georgia Tech, like you have something called hope that this could be a rivalry again, that you can go out there and beat Georgia. And maybe Georgia is like the other SEC teams. Maybe the theory of cannibalism is true. That maybe the SEC gauntlet, like Georgia had to play Ole Miss, they had to play Alabama, you have to play, who else did they play? Texas. So it isn't the SEC East anymore where you get to play Vandy, you get to play Kentucky, you get to have an easy non-con. You get to play South Carolina that hasn't been as good as current South Carolina. You get to play these teams without the portal. So you get to hang in the SEC East. Get to play Auburn as your crossover. Get to do that, right, Georgia? And now you got to play in the NIL era. Now you got to go to Texas. And now you got to go to Alabama. That's not even maybe your hardest game. So, man, not fun. Brutal schedule, and it caught up with them. The theory is if Georgia, I think that Georgia with Dan Lanning and Nakobe Dean and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and the guy Walker went on the Jaguars, I believe if they still had those players, like Georgia would be more dominant. And if they had Stetson Bennett at quarterback, and then they had the running game in which they had in Brock and Ladd and all the weapons, like then Georgia would probably Georgia would be better than this, yes. But with this schedule, I don't know if they go undefeated. I don't know if it's as easy. So now Georgia is flawed and the schedule's crazy tough. So now you're seeing the ACC. Maybe the ACC, it's less mileage. Maybe we're going to see a playoff where we're really going to see competition here in the playoff. Now, there is one bye week between the end of this conference title game. So the teams that aren't in that, so Tennessee's going to have a lot of time. Tennessee's going to have 2 weeks to prepare and maybe their bodies can heal. We're going to see. How's the wear and tear of the football season going to add up in the playoffs? That's what I'm so curious about. But yeah, Georgia Tech had a golden opportunity. Georgia's so flawed, yet they keep winning. Are we going to look at this like the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, oh, the Chiefs lost to the Raiders last year. Oh, the Chiefs, their offense is terrible in this category. And then they go to Buffalo and they win. And then they go to Baltimore and play the MVP of the league, and the defense shuts down Baltimore's offense, and they win. And then they win the Super Bowl. Oh, man, what a flawed team. But they won the Super Bowl. So is that going to be them, or is Georgia literally going to fall really hard and get knocked out of the playoffs. Because everyone right now is like, Georgia's going to get knocked out. I thought Georgia would lose at Texas. I did not think this game would be that close, and I thought Georgia would lose to Texas. So I'm probably going to pick against Georgia, against Texas, or, boy, Texas A&M. I don't know if they're ready to win the SEC. That, oh my gosh, the Georgia Bulldogs, this iteration of Georgia playing Texas A&M in Atlanta. Man, what a year. What a crazy, crazy year. Or is this the new normal of college football with Texas and Oklahoma? Is the SEC going to have just 2 lost teams and crazy outsiders? And is Georgia going to go lose to their in-state rival? Are they going to go lose to Georgia Tech? Usually they go down to Georgia Tech and win by 30. So this is a good thing. This was a fun game. Really interesting stuff.